If someone had asked me a week earlier who I trusted the most, I would have said her name without thinking. Not my family. Not coworkers. Her. We had been best friends for years. The kind of friendship where silence wasn't awkward and jokes didn't need explaining. She knew my insecurities, my plans, the parts of my life I never said out loud to anyone else. When something went wrong, she was the first person I called. When something went right, she was the first person I wanted to tell. That's why I didn't see it coming. The day everything started unraveling was painfully ordinary. I was sitting in a cafe, laptop open, trying to finish work before heading home. My phone buzzed on the table. A notification from a group chat I wasn't part of. At least, I wasn't supposed to be. The message preview showed my name. I frowned and picked up the phone, assuming it was a mistake, maybe someone tagging the wrong person, maybe a coincidence. When I opened it, my chest tightened. It wasn't a mistake. Someone had accidentally added me to a group chat that already existed. A group chat where people were talking about me. I stared at the screen, frozen, as messages continued to come in one after another. My brain lagged behind my eyes, refusing to process the words even as I read them. She's so fake. She really thinks she's better than everyone. I can't believe she actually believes that story. My fingers went cold. Then I saw her name. My best friend. The one person I would have defended without hesitation. Her message was already there, sitting in the middle of the screen like it had always belonged. Honestly, I've been dealing with her for years. She exaggerates everything. You don't even know the half of it. I felt like the air had been knocked out of my lungs. More messages followed. Screenshots. Private conversations. Things I had told her in confidence, rephrased, mocked, twisted until they sounded ridiculous. Moments where I'd been vulnerable were being passed around like entertainment. My hands started shaking. I scrolled up. The chat wasn't new. It had been active for months. Months of laughing at me. Months of dissecting my life. Months of my best friend feeding them information. I remembered all the times she'd told me, people misunderstand you. All the times she'd said, don't worry about what they think. She hadn't been protecting me. She'd been managing me. I wanted to scream. I wanted to type something, anything, into the chat, to let them know I'd seen everything. My thumb hovered over the keyboard, my heart pounding so loud it felt like everyone in the cafe could hear it. Then another message came in. From her. She'll never find out. She trusts me too much. Something inside me went quiet. Not numb. Not broken. Focused. I exited the chat without saying a word. I sat there, staring at my reflection in the dark screen of my phone, trying to recognize the person looking back at me. I felt embarrassed, but not the way I expected. Not ashamed of myself. Ashamed of how easily I had trusted. My phone buzzed again. A text from her. Hey. What are you doing? Want to hang out later? I almost laughed. She had no idea. And for the first time since I'd read those messages, I realized something important. I had found out by accident. Which meant she never planned to stop. And people who destroy you quietly never expect you to stay quiet once you see the truth. I replied to her message like nothing had happened. Sure. Same place? A smiley face came back almost instantly. That was the part that hurt the most, not the betrayal itself, but how effortless it was for her to pretend. How naturally she could switch between tearing me apart and asking me to hang out, like both versions of her existed without ever touching. I closed my laptop and left the cafe. On the walk home, my mind replayed memories differently now. Moments that once felt comforting suddenly had edges. The time she'd insisted on knowing exactly what I said during an argument. The way she always asked for screenshots just in case. How she encouraged me to vent, then nodded thoughtfully, like she was filing the information away. She hadn't been listening to understand. She'd been collecting material. That night, we met at our usual spot. Same table. Same drinks. Same jokes. She laughed easily, leaned in close, asked questions in that familiar, caring tone. "So," she said casually, "how's work been? Still stressed about that situation you told me about?" There it was. The bait. I smiled and stirred my drink. "It's fine now. I figured it out." Her eyebrows lifted slightly. "Oh? How?" I shrugged. "Just stopped explaining myself to people who don't matter." She laughed. "That's so you. If only she knew." I watched her carefully as the conversation went on. Every reaction. Every pause. I noticed how her eyes flicked to her phone when I spoke, how she seemed almost disappointed when I didn't give her anything new to work with. When we said goodbye, she hugged me tightly. "You know I've always got your back," she said. I hugged her back and smiled into her shoulder. "I know," I replied. From that moment on, I changed the rules. I stopped sharing real details. I gave her harmless stories, half-truths, things that couldn't hurt me if they were twisted. I watched which versions of my words came back to me through other people, and how quickly. It didn't take long. Within days, I heard rumors that sounded familiar but distorted, like reflections in broken glass. Things I'd said jokingly were being repeated seriously. Neutral comments were being framed as complaints. All traced back to her. Every time, she came to me later pretending to warn me. I heard people saying things, she'd say, shaking her head sympathetically. "I defended you, of course." Of course. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I started documenting everything. Screenshots. Dates. Patterns. I saved copies of the group chat messages. I noted when she asked certain questions and when similar rumors appeared. I built a timeline that showed exactly how information flowed from me to her to everyone else. It was clearer than I expected. She wasn't just talking about me. She was shaping how people saw me. The realization settled in slowly, like a weight pressing down on my chest. This wasn't jealousy. This wasn't misunderstanding. This was intentional. One evening, she called me, voice trembling. "I need to tell you something," she said. "People have been saying really awful things about you." I stayed quiet. "I don't want you to be hurt," she continued. "I feel responsible." I almost admired the performance. "Who's saying them?" I asked gently. There was a pause, just long enough. "I don't want to cause drama," she said. "You know how people are." I smiled to myself. She still thought she was in control. That night, I made a decision. I wasn't going to expose her out of anger. I wasn't going to confront her in private. And I definitely wasn't going to beg for explanations. I was going to let her finish what she started. Because people who destroy you behind your back build their own downfall the same way, quietly, piece by piece. And I had front row seats. I didn't rush the ending. That was the mistake she kept making, assuming I was desperate for closure. For weeks, I let things continue exactly as they were. I smiled when I saw her. I listened when she spoke. I answered questions carefully, giving her just enough to believe she was still in control. Behind the scenes, I kept collecting proof. It wasn't hard anymore. Once you see the pattern, people repeat themselves. She repeated her behavior with confidence, convinced I was too trusting to notice, too passive to react. Then came the opportunity she created herself. She decided to host a small gathering, friends, coworkers, mutual acquaintances. The kind of setting where conversations overlap and truths slip out without meaning to. She invited me personally. You should come, she said. People have been asking about you. I smiled. Sure. The night of the gathering, everything felt strangely calm. Not because I wasn't nervous, but because I was prepared. I arrived early, greeted people politely, made small talk. I didn't bring up anything about myself. I didn't need to. I waited. At some point, someone laughed about a story that sounded familiar, something I'd told my best friend months ago. They repeated it confidently, embellishing details, adding intentions I'd never had. I tilted my head slightly. That's interesting, I said. Who told you that? They hesitated. Well, everyone knows. I smiled gently. I don't. Can you show me where it came from? The room shifted. Another person chimed in, then another. Bits of the same story surfaced, all slightly different, all clearly traced back to one source. Someone finally said her name. She froze. For the first time since I'd known her, she didn't have words ready. I reached into my bag and placed my phone on the table. Calmly. Carefully. I opened it and turned the screen toward them. Screenshots. Messages. Her words. My private conversations, mocked and twisted, time-stamped and undeniable. The silence was heavy. She tried to laugh it off. You're misunderstanding. No, I said quietly. I'm understanding perfectly. She looked at me, eyes wide, searching for the old version of me, the one who would soften, who would explain, who would protect her even while being hurt. She didn't find her. I found out by accident, I continued. And instead of confronting you, I paid attention. People started asking questions. Not angrily. Not dramatically. Just honestly. She had no answers that fit anymore. That was the moment her power disappeared. I didn't yell. I didn't insult her. I didn't ask for apologies. I stood up, picked up my phone, and said one last thing. You destroyed me behind my back, I said. But you underestimated how quietly I listen. Then I walked out. After that night, things changed fast. People stopped reaching out to her. Invitations slowed. Conversations ended early. The stories she'd built her influence on collapsed under their own weight. She messaged me once. I never meant to hurt you. I didn't reply. Because intention doesn't undo damage. And apologies that arrive only after exposure aren't apologies, they're damage control. Months later, I ran into her by chance. She looked smaller somehow. Less certain. She avoided my eyes. I didn't. I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. Losing her taught me something I carry with me now. Not everyone who stands beside you is standing with you. And sometimes the most dangerous betrayals don't come from enemies, but from the people who know you best. I didn't lose a best friend. I lost an illusion. And what I gained was far more valuable.